Morning. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC's SAC. Let's confirm access. Members respond with an aye. Mark Catone.
Aye.
Paul Wolf.
Aye.
And for staff, we have Nikki Sheriff.
Aye.
This open meeting of the HDC's SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. That order, posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allow public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording available on the town's YouTube channel. We will feature public comment, and materials provided to members for the meeting or during the meeting are, unless otherwise noted, available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name is called, and direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and the taking of minutes easier. We will be conducting votes by roll call, and we'll now move on to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And Mark, you're in favor?
Yeah.
Paul?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And we do not have minutes to review, so we can move on to public comment. Is there anybody on this call to comment on something other than an agenda item? Okay, seeing nobody, are there any commissioner comments that would like to be made?
No.
No. Okay. Let's move on to 31 Center Street. And is anybody on the call for that application?
One's blue flag. I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. So this was where we wanted to take a look and see what had been approved before, solid and striped. So the second item on the view pack shows the previously. Yeah, this is the one. And it looks like it was approved. Am I correct?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, are
Yes,
you,
Nikki.
everyone seeing my screen with the application or no?
Yes. So my understanding, the way that Kevin was thinking that this had not been approved in this location, but it appears that this sign was approved as a projecting sign. Am I correct with that, Nikki? That clearly has the approval stamp on it.
You are, excuse me. I was having issues with the screen share.
Yeah, so that projecting sign had previously been approved. And what they were applying for this time around is, actually, do we have the new sign? It looks like both items on the view pack are the previous approval.
This one's the new application that I have up here.
Oh, okay.
Different color.
So they're just changing the color then, is that all they're doing?
This one's the new one, and then this one is the old one. So old on the screen now, and then this one is new.
Okay. I guess I'm having a hard time figuring out what they're applying for. It looks.
So just a change of color, Chris?
Is that it? So they were off-white and green before, and now they're pale almond and granola. Okay. Any comments, Mark?
No concerns.
Paul?
No comments.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking through it. It appears to me that the only changes are the colors. I have no problems. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve as filed.
Second.
All right, Mark, you're in favor?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
All right, I am as well. Thanks, Nikki. Recommend that that goes up for approval tonight. So 44 Main Street, is anybody on the call for this?
Hi. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Amy. So introduce us to this application, please.
Yeah, so Valentina Kova, we're a New York-based company. We actually used to be on South Beach Street. So if the sign does look familiar, it's actually the same one that we had from 2019 to 2021. And it's just our logo. Our new logo actually has New York on the bottom of it, but we didn't feel that that was appropriate for the HDC with Nantucket. So we just used the simple sign Valentina Kova that was approved before, and it's black and it's Benjamin Moore white. And yeah.
Okay. It
Benjamin
is
Moore white
underneath.
dove, sorry.
Got it. For sake of discussion, it is within the size requirement, just so everybody knows. Slightly smaller than the maximum size allowed. Let's start. Paul, do you have any comments?
I'm a little stressed here because, not stressed, but if we've previously approved it, it's probably approvable. On the other hand, it's on Main Street. It's very contemporary and not very historic looking, with the type that's showing. So I really can't comment one way or another. If it's approved, if it meets the guidelines, which it might not because of the type of print, but if it does, I don't have any problem with it.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I do recall this sign in its previous location. I don't disagree with anything Paul just said. However, I do think the name falls within a logo categorization, if you will, and is clearly 15% or less of the sign area. So I think given we've approved this in a previous location, and the caveat given that the logo, if we will, appears to be in that percentage area, I'm okay with it in this location.
Okay, I agree with your thoughts there. I think that the 15% rule, this is a perfect example of it. So I don't think we can argue that. Is there a motion?
Make a motion. Okay, I second that.
Okay, so we'll give Paul the motion and Mark the second. Mark, you're in favor?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
I am as well. So Amy, thank you. That'll go up for recommend. So we recommend approval at tonight's meeting, the full board. You don't necessarily need to be there. It usually happens pretty quickly right at the beginning, but just so you know, it's not officially approved until the full board votes on it tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so you can check in with the office tomorrow, make sure that went through.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 57 Prospect. Is anybody on the call for this? Okay, Nikki, do you know anything about this application, or this is the hospital, right? I'm surprised nobody's here.
Yeah, they're not on. Huh. Let me just see if. And I just checked my email. I mean, they didn't notify, state otherwise that they wouldn't be here.
Okay, they have presented this to us before, I believe. And let's see what are our comments in here. They want to replace the they just want to replace the sign, the quarterboard sign, with applied lettering, essentially. We might as well put our comments on record.
Okay.
Mark? Mark, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, can we just scroll down the application so I can see more of what they're graphically?
And
So
the
the board-
application
The board will come
does
off
call for
and
wood.
applied
Sorry.
letters is what we're seeing here. Is that right?
That is what they're showing in this application, I believe.
Got it.
And the application says that there'll be wood letters, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't think I have a concern, and in a way I prefer it. I guess my only question is at the what is the color? Is it just straight up black? I see that there's a Pantone color presented, but
Let's see, the application calls it, oh, it doesn't really say. Wait.
I only ask because we don't really have any other black, but it might be fine.
I just looked it up online. It's a very dark gray, not black, but
Not a true black.
not true black, but extremely
Yeah, I don't
gray.
think I have any concerns. I actually think this might be an improvement to what's there now.
Okay, Paul?
I don't have any concerns either. I'm looking at the screen right now on the left-hand side. It says the board never sat properly on the molding of the portico. So I think what they've done is shrunken it down and taken the words main hospital entrance off. So
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it.
Okay, I agree. And the new letters are clearly less than the height of that fascia board, so it should fit better. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All right. Paul, you're in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay, I am as well. Let's recommend that for approval. Okay, we have 28 Easy Street, Shepherd Real Estate. Is anybody on the call for this?
Yes,
This is Rob.
I am Susan Shepherd. I don't know why my video is not coming up, but I am here.
Okay, thanks, Susan. So you're moving into the space. Is this formerly the surf shop and Act Now?
That's
that where you're-
correct. Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. And this sign was at 0 Main from 2012 to the end of 2023. This building's a little tricky with where signage can go. There's just not a lot of, hanging space without, because people walk under there. So I was just hoping to reuse my same sign.
Okay, and we did go through a lot of reviews, especially with the surf shop, I recall, trying to figure out the best signage location for them. Act Now didn't really have a whole lot of signage, but I believe what the surf shop had was a suspended sign hanging sort of in front of those two windows from the
They
overhanging
did.
roof, right?
They
Okay.
did. I'm sort of an aesthetics freak, and it
Yeah.
interrupted the windows, and it just didn't, to me, it didn't look like the best placement. I also didn't know, how this board might feel about, if I was to do, like vinyl lettering on the actual window. I just don't, it's a tricky building from my perspective as far as signage. Susie Locke has a, quarter board, I was hoping to reuse this. There should be another application that I sent over for a smaller one that could go on the side of the building that is identical but smaller.
Okay.
Pull that one up now, 1 sec.
Yeah, take a look at that so we kind of see
Okay,
them in
here it is.
concert. Okay, I think we're seeing more of you than we switched
I see
screens,
it.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh,
Are you not seeing the screen?
No,
Oh,
I
no,
am.
I can see
Yeah.
the screen. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah. Okay, got it. Yep. All right, and that sign exists, you're saying as well, or? is
Yeah,
that a
yes,
new
they
sign?
both exist right now.
Okay. Got it. So Paul, we'll go Paul and then Mark. Paul, looking at both of these sort of together, let's just give them a review.
The sign itself is fine. The location is questionable. The second one we're looking at right now is not near an entrance that I can tell. This is a question. If you go around the corner, is there a side door? Or is it only?
There is not. There's a back door, but there's not a side door.
Okay, then I don't think we need. Well, two signs are allowed, Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I'm not sure about the location of this one.
Okay. How about, let's go back to the other one. Do you have any comments on the first wall sign?
Well, it's, she's right. It's a tough one. I guess I would not be opposed to it. Because if you hang it, it's going to block the windows and you can't hang it in front of the door. I don't know how much room there would be on the left-hand side of the door. I can't tell from this.
It's tight to the corner. There's a window. It's only a few
Oh, I see.
inches. I don't even think it's a foot.
Okay. Let's let Mark weigh in.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Susan's just said. It is, we know historically it's been tricky to hang signage for this unit. And I actually don't mind how understated that location becomes. I know it's a little atypical, excuse me, but this building sits up a few steps from the sidewalk. So when you walk, oddly, that's almost at eye level, thereabouts. So it sort of works from a visual. I also like the fact that it's slightly understated. So it's not like we're trying to get more signs on the unit or visible necessarily from all parts of Easy Street. So I'm okay with it, given the challenges the building presents.
Okay. I have a problem with it just because of the precedent. I can't think of any place where we put a wall sign underneath windows. I'm afraid of sort of where it heads.
Chris, help with that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
What about like the Condens Pharmacy and all of that up on Main Street? All that signage sits below those big picture units. I mean, granted, it's carved into the wood, but there is some precedent for like sidewalk signage at that level.
Okay.
And if I may, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to speak now, but across the street at I don't know why I can't think of the number now, but there is an address sign that sits about this same height. Well, I can't, it used to be, it's Arno's building on the corner there. I mean, it's an address sign, but there is a sign.
31 Easy Street.
Yeah, 31, thank you.
It's not a good example.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying,
Well,
I'm pinch hitting here.
but where I was going with it though is this a two-sided sign? Was this previously used as a projecting sign?
It's actually not. You know,
Okay.
I actually have a funny sign story from the HDC way back when, but I won't share it. Well, I will share it now because it's just so funny. They wanted me to ask the chamber if they would take their sign down so I could put mine up. And they required me to do so before I presented any other option. So no, this is the actual sign. I actually just hung it temporarily to take the photo. So it is not two-sided. Anyway, long way to answer that.
Okay, because my thought where an appropriate looking sign and one which would give you more visibility would be this sign two-sided hanging from that that overhang over the ramp, on the sidewalk, so you'd see it from both directions, and it would be more of a true projecting sign type of location. Just a thought that I had when I looked at this photograph. But that would require making a second side to this sign. Well, we have some opinions here. Does anybody? We should vote on each one of these individually. So we should take this first sign and then.
Is the second sign being applied for, or was that just really?
It is.
Option?
Yeah,
they're both being applied for.
Nikki, we have two today, correct?
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And that's just because it's kind, the driving traffic is one directional, but the walking traffic is two directional. That was sort of my thought with that.
Yeah.
Chris,
Now,
do
if
you
you
do wall signs in combination?
technically, no, we've allowed it in some situations
Yeah.
where it becomes the second sign, but technically you're supposed to have a wall sign with a projecting sign or,
Well, I see. Yeah.
something else. Primarily so that you didn't have two signs visible from the same point of view. You don't want two wall signs on either side of a door, for example, something like that.
And
This-
and if I
This
may,
building is difficult.
if it were to be a hanging sign, the dimensions of this would have to change because it would interrupt with the window, and I worry about the head height clearance. You can see where that slopes down. If it were to be there, I would have, I remember the surf shop sign. It's just, there's not a whole lot between that top piece and where the window starts, and actually even, head space. It's not exceptionally tall.
Chris,
Right,
did
I
you
was
have an
referring
opinion?
to the far right, sorry, Mark, but I was saying over the handicap ramp, if it were over that far right
Oh, on the
overhang.
side, I see.
Yeah, sort of where Nikki's got the pointer. Mark, what were you gonna say?
Well, two things. I was thinking about the same thing. I think her sign's a bit larger, I think, than the surf shop sign was, the round one he had there. So it may hang lower. Chris, what was your thought? I don't know if I heard your opinion or if you gave one on the other sign that would face.
I didn't, that one doesn't bother me entirely. It is sort of on the ramp up to the door, so I could see it, qualifying as leading you to the entrance. Susan, you mentioned window signage, and that's another thing that you could consider. Don't use the term vinyl lettering, however.
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure
painted
what.
lettering. Painted letters.
lettering? Okay.
But if there are provisions for window signage that you could explore in the guidelines, you'd have to pick two signs total. So in other words, if you wanted a window sign, you'd have to give up one of these wall signs. So you have to sort of pick and choose what you want your two signs to be. And then, of course, where we get into enforcement issues later is when people put posters in their windows and things like that. There are signs that are visible from the sidewalk, which just tends to happen. This building, for example, I think has that happening in one of the other shops. So be careful about that.
For what it's worth, I'm very protective of the view. So anything that I would want to do, it's also, my concern about the lettering, although, I think it could work, is that, it from the inside, you're looking at backwards letter. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not this, the reason for moving here is just the view is exceptional, obviously. And, if I were to do lettering on the windows, I would want them to be as low as possible. So as to not to obstruct that, but I also do worry from the aesthetics of inside because it's so visible. I will have some artwork in there that will be for sale, and I'm very cognizant of people not seeing the backs of, signs that are not, that are one-sided.
Chris, if I may.
Yeah, Mark.
I know that probably each of these are slightly atypical, but I don't find them to take away from the architecture. I actually like the fact they're a little on the understated side compared to a lot of signage we review. And I'm encouraged if Susan indeed is looking to keep the windows open versus what we typically see with a real estate office and windows of this type. I'm inclined to, based on that and the challenges of sometimes hanging signs in this unit in particular, even, I'd make a motion for approval as applied for each. Maybe it needs to be 2 votes, but I'd make a motion for approval as applied for each signage.
Okay, with that thought, why don't you make a motion for the first one, which would be the sign under the windows?
All right, I'd make a motion for approval as applied for the sign adjacent to the main entry below the windows.
I'll second that.
Okay, and Paul, you're in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And you've swayed my vote. I'll say aye on that as well.
Thank
So,
you.
all right, so now we need a motion for the second
I would
sign.
continue with a motion for approval for the smaller sign that is facing Easy Street.
Second.
Okay, and Paul, you're in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I am as well.
Thank
So
you.
Susan, thank you, and
Yeah, there
look
will be
forward
no posters of houses for sale, or that's not my aesthetic, so I won't.
Thank you.
Anyway, you can hold me to that.
Appreciate that.
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Take care.
All right, we're on to 29 Center Street.
Thank you, guys. I am here to represent.
Okay, Benton, can you introduce us to this application?
Yes, my client is Bank of America. They've rented out the Federal Suite at the Faraway. So we went to the Faraway to ask about exterior signage. They said the only thing that had ever been approved in the past was these pop-up planter signs, and they sent us dimensions of a sign for, I think it was Terra. It was these dimensions. Then they sent us another sign that was much smaller. We are not locked into a size. We have a manufacturer. It's going to be wood, beveled edges, applied letters, pretty much waiting for us to see if we're approved or denied to create the sign. But it's just pointing to at the end of the walkway into the courtyard of the Faraway Federal Suite, showing them we have that Bank of America marketplace in there.
Okay, I will let Mark go first and then Paul.
Oh, this is the time you go first? Okay.
Sorry.
I
It's just,
might not completely understand forgive me, maybe because it's kind of like a Monday morning. Is the sign designed to go into a planter?
No, we were just we didn't know because we're very new to putting any signage out here. The Faraway Hotel, I think it's Leanne was her name, said this is the only way that you could do it. If you want signage right there, it was approved in the past. So we are purchasing a wooden planter and designing this and building the sign if we're approved. And it is extremely temporary. I think it's just the 17th to the 24th, and then it's gone.
Okay, that was my
Okay.
final question. So it is a temporary sign.
I will interrupt you, Mark. I don't recall anything like this ever being approved.
I was going to ask the same question, Chris. Yeah.
Um,
And
So
I
I'd
do
like to see it.
apologize. I apologize if that's the case. My communication with them has been a little spotty. When they told me it was approved, they sent me one series of pictures, and then I designed this with the sizing off of what they sent me. And then when I requested more information, they sent me different pictures. If you see that slide right there down, right there, that's the picture she sent me for when that was approved. And then when I asked for them again later, she sent me a totally different picture. So I was like, oh no. But I had already
Okay.
done the application.
yeah, I don't believe that ever came before us. And I think we would remember because this is an atypical application, meaning freestanding signs aren't allowed. This facility has maxed out its signage through its previous applications as well. So that there's a master sign plan for the property, and every location and building with its signage is sort of predetermined. So I know we would have had a discussion about that.
Yeah, Chris, I guess to render an opinion, I don't know that I can support what's being proposed here before. And I too have a hard time recalling if there was another pop-up type sign approved by us. I don't recall that. I would probably, and I understand it's temporary, but I think it may be some sort of come back to us with something that might sit inside the courtyard that's visible to the archway maybe, but not sitting out on the sidewalk in this fashion. That maybe it's a temporary, I don't know, sandwich board or a chalkboard that would lean up against a planter that when you step through the courtyard, you might see it. But I I can't support this. I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like, I think it enters a kind of a dangerous area for us, or a concerning area, that every time you'd have a retail shop would have a sale or something, they might ask for a pop-up sort of little, or they have a trunk show or something of that nature. I think, and I agree, this also is a heavily signed parcel. So we are going to be sensitive to adding more signage, even if it is temporary. So I guess I kind of would hold for revisions, to see if there was something that maybe is a little bit more sensitive to what's going on here. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Basically, does not meet anything in our guidelines. It's not approvable. And it's also, I don't know if is it Bank of America that's applying for them, or is it the owners of the property? For Bank of America, it's an off-premise sign, which we don't allow, but through the guidelines. So, I mean, everything about it, I think, is a problem. So I would urge us not to approve it. There were some signs from Peter Benton hats attached to this application. I suspect they were there to show that somebody else had done such a thing. I'm not sure we ever approved those, but they're not an off-premise signs as this is. This is half a mile away from the Bank of America. Peter Benton signs are on a walkway going into their store, so I don't think it's appropriate at all.
And I understand, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to speak. I understand that that would be appropriate if we were, I guess, trying to advertise for the bank, but we actually have 8 small businesses being flown in for the federal suite at the Faraway. And we're just saying that's where their marketplace is, where they can go in and purchase goods from all the businesses we've flown in from Boston and around the country.
Yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from with that. I was going to say the same thing, unfortunately, with the Bank of America logo itself. Even the Bank of America branch on Main Street changed its logo to comply with, the sign guidelines. But that aside, I think this faces a lot of issues with us being able to recommend approval. It's a freestanding sign. It's it has the logo. It's off premises. There's a lot of things going on, but probably the freestanding sign being the one that's going to be the most challenging to overcome. It just is not the type of thing that the guidelines really allow. It's one of the few things that they really try to make sure are kept in control. So I'm not sure what Mark was suggesting, maybe trying to come back with a different application or revision. When
would your next meeting be if I were to get revisions in today?
Well, we meet every 2 weeks typically. I don't know, does that fall in yeah, there's no issues with that, with holidays or anything. So I believe we'd be meeting in 2 weeks. Is that right, Nikki?
Yes, that's correct. So it would be the 11th, June 11th.
Yeah. But I would want you to go away with some kind of indication of what we would feel. I don't want you to waste time just preparing another application. And I really don't see how any kind of freestanding sign could be deemed appropriate. And we're 3 of the 5 members here. So, at the next meeting, there might be another voice or two on this, but let me.
I don't know, it'll get better.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You've got the 2 liberals representing today.
I understand. I had spoke to Billy Sod, and I had told him what I was going to do, and he said, "Yeah, as long as you stress how temporary the sign is, there's a possibility. But I understand if it goes against everything you guys do. I'm not here to try and obviously reinvent the wheel. So I'll just take this back to to my superiors and let them know what the notes were and what the comments were. Then they'll probably want to talk to the Faraway because they were telling us this has been approved in the past, which is not the case." So
quickly, just, I know you said, Chris, maybe providing some direction, but is this, so this is to mark an event, a marketplace? Is that what, where vendors are selling wares
Yes.
for a period of time?
Yes, just the federal suite inside the faraway right there, inside that walkway. We have kind of decorated. We've brought in a bunch of designers to decorate the space, flew in the businesses with their inventories, and people can walk in and purchase everything they'd like from these women-owned businesses around the country inside the federal suite at the faraway.
Yeah. So as this takes me back to I'm a member of ours from many years ago, but I mean, you know, advertising and location are two different things. You're trying to get them in to maybe find it. I think through obviously the newspaper, social media and such is really the way you're going to draw people to the location. And then if you want to come back or come up with something very discreet that would direct individuals to the location once on property, but it's really not to be used for advertising. And I think this is really more of an advertisement than it is a sign that's locating an event or business.
Plus it's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Mark, you're saying advertising, meaning the Bank of America logo being the most prominent component of it, basically.
Yeah, I do feel like it's advertising an event. I mean, they're trying to draw people in, and I just think there's other ways of doing it. And once they get to the property address, they can, you know, it's up to the hotel once inside the campus to direct them, not draw them in from the sidewalk, which I think is what we're seeing here.
Right. And I would suggest the right way to apply for something like this, if a revision is coming, is through the temporary signage section of the sign book, meaning look at that as being the right section to try to comply with.
Yeah,
which,
I mean, is
so
it?
that, you know, it'll say you have to, a temporary sign still needs to comply with all other relative sign guidelines. So in other words, a freestanding sign would still not be allowed, but Bank of America, if at all, should be a very small component of the sign, maybe sponsored by at the bottom or something along those lines. But even Film Festival and the various museums have removed their corporate sponsors from their signage. So I'm not sure the Bank of America component would ever be appropriate.
Agree with all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are we thinking this would be the same? I know we're not, I don't want to jump ahead, but we're thinking it'd be the same for the sign on Federal Street as well, the other application?
Let's take a look. That's what Peter
Needs an explanation.
yes, I think that's the same component. Yeah, you're
So I was told by the faraway that one was approved as well. So I generated the exact same sign on both entrances of the actual courtyard where the Federal Suite is inside the faraway. And they said that they've had people place signs here before. That's what I was told, and that's what I generated. I apologize.
so this is the Peter Beaton instance. That because of their sign, because of their business location, this was sort of an approval that was given with fence signage, or you know, it was an interesting approval that was given to Peter Beaton because of their location.
It also sits within their property, Chris.
Right. And
It's
now
not on the sidewalk, technically. It faces the sidewalk, and the sidewalk extrudes into that space, but it's not. It's still private property.
right. And is Peter Beaton? They're no longer there, though. Is that correct? So this is now part of the property we're reviewing, correct? Like you're looking at using the same exact location where that sign used to be. Is that correct, Benton? I think that's...
Yes, that is correct. The exact spot where that sign was, the faraway said that would be the perfect spot to put it and to try and get that.
Okay, so that's where maybe this whole idea of a planter that had been approved came up.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Nikki.
Excuse me. And just so you know, I was here researching to see So the ones that they mentioned were previously approved, it was in this location. It wasn't the other one.
That makes more
Okay.
sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
But that
So-
makes sense.
because I was here looking and I'm like, let me just look. Okay. So it wasn't in the other area. It was where this is, because I guess like Paul said, it's private, you know, it's their property.
Right. And it was for this Peter Beaton hat, correct? That you're, which was not a pop-up, but rather a business that was located down that
And
alley.
it was also, there was one done for the Casa Casa, or is that Casa Casa or Cara Cara pop-up as well? It was from August 29, 2023 to September 2, 2023.
Yes,
this-
and that's that big pink sign I included on the last
Yeah,
application.
so it was in this location, right?
Yeah,
So-
this one.
Chris, if I may, on this
Mark.
specifically, I probably am more, generally speaking, supportive as it does replicate what's been there previously. However, I don't have an issue with the planter itself, but I have a lot of issues with the sign. And the sign would need to be more conforming to our guidelines, even for temporary nature, and that being, you know, logo, so the sponsorship, serif lettering, probably reduction of pop-up and all of it. The scale would have to come down. I mean, obviously that much larger than what, if we're using the Peter Beaton precedent. And maybe it's just the way it's being presented to us today, but I think it would need some work before we could get comfortable with the recommendation for its temporary approval.
Yes, sir, and I understand that completely. When I first had made these applications, all I had was that pink Cara Cara sign to go off of. And then the Faraway had found these pictures of these signs. So I spoke internally with, you know, our team and Bank of America and said, we can make it as small as you guys like. This was just what we were told when I made the applications.
Yeah. Nikki, if you have that application up for Peter Beaton, can you tell us what the size was on that? Maybe on page 1 of the application, just should say. So that's 30 by 15, or does that say 20 by 15? I gotta zoom in on that. So 30 by 15. So I'm curious if we were to look at the original Peter Beaton, that might have slipped through us. I think that's bigger than even the Peter Beaton was, but definitely a lot smaller than 48 by 24. 48 by 24 would be just an 8 square foot sign would be way too big.
Yes, sir. And we are 100% ready to scale it down as small as you guys would allow.
Got it. Thoughts from everybody? So I think it's clear that, you know, looking at the car, you can see how there's no corporate sponsorships there. It's a very, you know, subdued looking sign. So corporate sponsorship would have to be removed, I think, for us to recommend approval. Serif lettering or lettering that's more appropriate, traditional, and size seem to be the concerns. Any other concerns that the board might have if they're going to be bringing a revision to us? Go ahead and speak freely.
No, I think everything's been expressed.
Okay. Paul?
I think we've lost Paul.
Oh,
Oh, no. Okay, let me see.
While I hate
Yeah,
to
go
jump in, but while we're getting him reconnected, we 100% would like to probably do revisions. I just know how they work. I'll let them know that the Bank of America logo is just, we can't do that. The sign, we're going to make it 30 by 15 just to match what was approved in the past. Is there any other notes I could take back to them to try and assure an approval on at least one of these? I know the Center Street is out. I've already put that out of my brain. But the Federal Street sign, I know they do want to try and get.
I think that, you know, specifically list the dates, and you're saying it's about a week-long event? Is that what you said?
Yes, it'll be June 17th to the 24th, and then it's gone.
Okay, so yeah, it would be the signage would be there, you want during the event only.
Yes.
Make sure that's listed. I think, and as Mark said, you've got a fairly liberal leaning board at the moment. So I think that our comments are about all that you're going to hear from us today. If we can't get Paul back on the line, we won't be able to have a vote asking to hold for revisions. So I'm not sure technically, Nikki, if we can ask the applicant to withdraw for revisions so that he can go back, and what would be the correct procedure?
You could voluntarily do so.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, he could voluntarily do it.
So
I just emailed Paul. Seems he lost connection.
but Ben, if you would like to voluntarily withdraw to make revisions and reapply or resubmit, that would be appreciated.
Okay, I will withdraw to make revisions, resubmit. Do I need to, I have one more carbon copy. Does it need to be the entire process over again for revisions, or just digital renderings?
Just new renderings, and update the application to reflect, the sizes and colors and such, but
Fantastic. I'll get to work on that now.
okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Then we have signs. The signs for Sankaty Head Light are going to the board. Is that right, Nikki? Or there's
Yes, those are going to the full board tonight.
okay. Got it.
And then I do see, sorry, Mr. Chair, William O'Brien, just for the record, your application was recommended for approval. I'm not sure if I see you on, but I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Just
I
so you
can.
know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. And just if you're still listening, that means that it'll go to the HDC tonight for their formal approval. So when our approval is a recommendation that the full board votes approval tonight. So don't start fabricating any signs just yet.
I got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
You're welcome. Okay. Any update on enforcement, Nikki?
Yes, I did. Paul had sent me a couple places that had like the chalkboard signs and I think some window signs done by Bro Denim. I did send out notices to them last Thursday. So, they get 14 days. I'll probably do a drive-by sometime this week to see if they've complied, taking them down. And then I'll update you guys at the next meeting. And that's pretty much it right now. I haven't received anything else through you. But
Great.
hopefully we don't have too much of a crazy summer with them, but hopefully everybody tries to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. So Mark and Paul, if you're still listening, they've requested everything go through the chair. So send me anything and I can forward it to staff.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, though, I was wondering that the citizen complaint was always another avenue, and I wasn't sure what the difference between a commissioner or board member sending a request via the chair versus just a citizen complaint being sent directly to the Plus office, how those two differed, but I'm happy to forward along so we can just keep it simple and not argue bureaucracy. But
Thank you, Chris.
yeah, meaning there's sometimes we do get input from people that aren't on the board, and I would hope that they can send things directly to you is my point. So okay, well, we're down to just Mark and I, sounds like. So I'm not sure how we make a motion to adjourn. I think we have to sit here, Mark, until the 11th.
Until someone shows up again.
Someone shows up. So I'm going to use executive privilege and adjourn this meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Recording.